Hey guys, I just want to let you know that in this video I will not be featuring any tarantulas. A while back I mentioned that we had purchased a enclosure for my daughter for Christmas that she plans on turning into a paludarium for dart frogs. And I also mentioned that I would record the process and share that with you. So this is that video. In fact, this is part one of that video because as of this moment she is still not fully completed everything, but she's gotten the majority of the work done. Most of the video is shot in time lapse to save time. However, it is still rather lengthy, but I felt like I needed to keep in as much of the video as possible to kind of demonstrate how much work was put into this and how proud I am for her doing that, because it has turned out magnificent as far as I'm concerned. And this is something that I myself have not undertaken. I plan on doing something like this in the future, but it's kind of interesting to see how she went about doing it. And in fact, she is teaching me because I will learn from that process. Although there are no tarantulas in this video, there are dart frogs in this video, and I hope that you find it interesting. I understand if it's not your cup of tea. I've put some jump links down below in the description so you can jump to different parts of the video. Even though this is a dart frog vivarium build, the concepts are still applicable to both hobbies. I hope you enjoy it. Hello Tarantula lovers, I'm Alex.
And I'm Elise.
And you're watching Tarantula Haven. And today we're going to talk about Elise's Paludarium build that she's going to do out of this vivarium here. And before we get going with that though, I want to get this out of the way because it is a monstrosity. So give me a second to do that and we'll get back to you. Okay, we're back and we've moved that monstrosity out of the way. Tell me a little bit as to why you chose that particular enclosure.
I really like the shape of the enclosure because most of the Paludarium enclosures that they have are really slender, or they're just tall and wide and they're just too big.
And we have looked at different ones. We looked at the Exoterra paludariums, and it just wasn't what she wanted. She liked that hexagonal shape to it. And I think you're planning on putting up like a false background to half of it?
Yeah.
Right. So that way you can see through the front of it, at least three sides of it. And then, of course, you have a built-up backdrop on it. And both of us have kind of been working on collecting plants. She's been helping me out a lot as far as getting plants that are low light and good for vivariums, because personally I've been trying to create a more naturalistic look to my tarantula enclosures, and I've been incorporating bioactive substrate and incorporating some plants and things like that. But she kind of has been behind the scenes helping me with that because she's the one with the green thumb in our house, and she really helps me out. So you've collected a lot of plants and you've got your room is loaded with plants. So she's been collecting a lot of different types of plants. Give me an example of some of the plants that you've been collecting.
So I've been collecting like Ficus cordifolia and Ficus pumila, which is the creeping fig, and the string of frogs or oak leaf creeping fig. And I also have a couple of calatheas. They're just kind of stripy and bigger leafed, and Wandering Jew too. I gave you a pot of it so that you could put it in your tarantula enclosures.
So she's been collecting a lot of low light stuff and just things that would be good all around, plants that would be good for low light in an enclosure, that would do good in a terrarium situation or a paludarium situation. But we've also been really getting into orchids, and some of the orchids that you've been getting into are things that could also do well in a vivarium as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just remarkable. She's got me addicted. When I was in my 20s, I used to collect orchids, but back then the amount of knowledge was not really all that great, or access to knowledge. We didn't have as much internet access, and it was just a thing where it was kind of hit or miss, and you watered them and you took care of them, but I ended up killing every single one of them. So I swore off of orchids, but she's been getting me back into it, and there's so much stuff out there now that I feel like I'm a little bit more confident in keeping them, but I'm keeping things that I never even knew existed back then. So it's been really fun getting back into that.
Probably didn't exist either.
Yeah, they probably did not exist in the in I guess the would it be a hobby? I don't know. So
It is the American Orchid Society.
right. Well, we have an American Orchid Society. Yeah. So I guess it's another aspect to a different hobby in keeping orchids, and she's gotten me back into it, which I said I would not. So this entire video is going to be shot in parts and pieces, and I still don't know whether I'm going to put it together as one whole video or if I'm going to put it as, you know, releasing little bits at a time on her build, because it's going to be completely on her. There are some things that I'm going to help her out with, such as the water feature and maybe some other things that she might want my help. But for the most part, she knows what she's doing, and she's a whole lot better than I am at putting together these bioactive enclosures with just plants decorating it. She's done it with her frogs that she has. She has dumpy tree frogs, and she also has a scorpion that she keeps, and hers looks so much nicer than mine, and I wish she would do mine. So we've been getting a lot of ideas, one of which one of our favorite YouTubers is Serpa Design. So what are some things that you ideas that you got from Serpa Design?
The water feature idea in general.
A water feature, and I'm sorry.
The drip, like I kind of want to do a piece where the log comes out of the background and has water drip down into the water feature. And I see that in a lot of like Troy Goldberg's YouTube videos where he has that. And Serpa Design always has it where it comes up from like his not lava rocks, dragonstone, and it drips down. I really like that idea. It's very calming and peaceful, in my opinion.
Yeah, and what's the other thing that we went out and did looking for that Serpa Design does?
Choice moss.
Yeah, we went looking for choice moss. So we've been going out to different locations, and moss grows like crazy here in Florida, so it's not hard to find. But we've been collecting moss, and that's all part of it, and it makes it look so much nicer when you've got a water feature in there and you can get this moss to grow all over the place. It just looks beautiful. So one last thing about the enclosure itself. What are some things that you don't like about it?
I don't like the door of it has this weird latch that you pull down and it gets stuck sometimes. And I'm afraid I'm gonna break it, but at the same time it's pretty sturdy. It's also a little wobbly in the bottom. Usually tanks have a glass bottom. This one's completely plastic and it bends.
Yeah, and that is definitely something that, and this, we didn't realize this until after we bought it, that it had a plastic bottom. And that plastic bottom is flimsy. It actually flexes when you push on it. And that is not good for a water feature. So we're going to come up with a solution to kind of help reinforce that so that we don't have to deal with anything cracking later on. And the door is a little bit flimsy. And I don't know if you have seen that brand before. They don't sell for, they're not as expensive as some of your other brands like your Exoterra and your Zoomed, but they tend to be a little bit flimsier on some aspects. The door is just a basic setup, and yeah, I kind of worry a little bit about that door and how long it's going to last. But overall, it looks like a pretty good design. I love the screen top. I think the screen top is a lot nicer than your Zoom Ed or your Exoterra. It's not just a regular screen. It seems to be like a kind of a metal mesh that has holes in it, but it's also painted. It's coated, so it seems a little bit sturdy as far as that goes. But we're going to work it out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then we may have to switch to something different. One of our biggest complaints about this enclosure was that it had kind of a flimsy bottom. If you can see that flexing right there. So we decided that we were going to take care of that somehow. And one of the best solutions that we thought about was maybe putting some neoprene on the bottom. When we flipped it over, we discovered that there is reinforcement down here, but not very much. This is kind of low, and this is a little bit taller, but it doesn't do a whole lot to reinforce. So we are going to put some neoprene down there. The funny thing is my daughter had cut out a piece that was square. She was just going to put a square piece in the middle, which is okay, but this kind of put a damper on her idea. So I'm going to help her out and cut out some neoprene in these shapes so that we can fit it in there a little bit better. So my idea here is that I'm going to take the neoprene she already cut out, set that down, put that on top, and allow the weight of the enclosure to kind of put an imprint on it, and that'll give us a guide to cut stuff out. I am absolutely amazed at how well it turned out. She did an excellent job putting it all together. She didn't even ask for my help on the water features, so that was something that I did not have to take care of. She did that all on her own. And her eye for color is incredible. She's really good at mixing those colors and getting those paints right. It turned out very naturalistic, in my opinion, and I think it looks really great. This next part, we discovered a local treasure in a pet shop that we didn't even know existed. We did some searches online and nothing came up, and I just happened to come across this by doing a little bit of digging and found out that we had a pet shop nearby. I say nearby, it's about an hour and a half away, that kind of specializes in dart frogs. So my daughter was super excited that there was something like that close to us that we could go visit and see and actually have a look at these rather than just looking at pictures online. So we decided to take a little trip and check them out. So I am at Sam's Flying Frog Ranch in Yulee, Florida. And this is like a little hidden treasure. This place looks like an old church that's been converted. And my daughter's looking for some dart frogs. And from what I understand, they have a whole bunch in here. And hopefully she'll find what she's looking for, at least a source as to where she can find the species that she's looking for. So if you're interested in dart frogs and you're ever in or near the Yulee area of Florida, I highly encourage you to check out Sam's Flying Frog Ranch. It's a hidden gem. It looks like an old beat up church from the outside, but when you go inside, he's got all these neat little frog enclosures, and they're all bioactive and got lots of neat plants and stuff inside of them. And he doesn't just sell dart frogs, he also sells geckos and tarantulas and chameleons. So I saw a lot of different things in there, which is pretty cool. So definitely check him out if you're in the area. And that does it for me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you want to support this channel, I have a Teespring store where I sell Tarantula Haven merchandise. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters, and a very special thank you to my newest Patreon supporters, Katie Scott and Jeff Mickle. Thank you so much. Your support is greatly appreciated. And if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter yourself, there's a link down below in the description along with all the rest. And if you enjoyed the Paludarium build, please drop a positive comment down below. My daughter Elise would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, keep loving them tarantulas and dart frogs.